Well, hello, hello. It is great to see you again, and welcome back to Optimizing Your Financial World. I am your host and moderator, Ryan Ruff, and as always, we've got our star of the show. That's Mr. Mark Wade, the president of Echelon Family Office. He's carved some time out of his day to jump back on the show, and we're going to be unpacking a really unique wealth management topic here today. Mark bringing nearly 4 decades worth of experience to this show, and I love this conversation because Mark just told me this is one that he's having more and more with clients in today's day and age. And here's why. The fact remains, look, we're living longer these days. And if we're living longer, that means, well, we might need our wealth to see us through a few more years and, tacked on to maybe that retirement plan we initially had. So today we're really going to be exploring how an increasingly important aspect and avenue of wealth management as a whole, which is called longevity planning, how this is coming into play these days and how it can potentially help position you and your finances for the long haul, maybe a haul that was longer than you initially anticipated. So with that being said, let's get Mark on here and get right into the discussion today. Mark, it's good to see you. How you doing this morning?
Hey, Ryan, how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. Mark, I'm excited for this one. You had mentioned you were just having these types of conversations more routinely today, these days with your clients. So really timely, really good one for us to get into today. So Mark, Americans' life expectancy these days is significantly higher than it has been in the past, maybe a few generations ago even. But the probability of living longer than your parents or grandparents, I would imagine that presents a little bit of a double-edged sword for some people. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Think about it. On the one hand, you could live to be 90, 100, or even longer, right? Giving you lots of times potentially to cross off things on your bucket list and, to enjoy life. On the other hand, living comfortably into your 90s or longer, might find that you're living beyond your means. Your wealth may need to be there for you potentially to last a much longer time than our ancestors' wealth had to be there for them, right? AKA living longer means you need to have more money in order to last longer. If you tack on an additional 10 or 15 years to your life, you could face a very real and dangerous risk of running out of money while you're still alive, or having so little left that your lifestyle becomes seriously compromised and you're not living the kind of life that you expected you would in your retirement years. You know, Things like major medical bills and rising healthcare costs could eat away at your savings, when your financial plan could fail to take those additional costs into account in those golden years and last for what could be a 35 or 40-year retirement nowadays. It's not unrealistic to expect people are going to live that long.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, this is a worthwhile conversation given the numbers and the trends on seeing people living longer these days. But Mark, how are wealth managers then these days addressing this issue? Which is it sounds like both an opportunity as well as a challenge. But how are you seeing wealth managers handle this?
Ryan, a component of comprehensive wealth planning that's becoming more and more prevalent is longevity planning. Okay. And it's increasingly becoming more important because, successful families' wealth management efforts have to combat the risks that they're going to live longer than their previous generations did. Essentially, this concept of longevity planning is about taking action to live longer, but those actions that you're going to take to, hopefully live a longer and healthy life are going to lead to other issues, and they include financial ones, which is where the wealth management, overall comprehensive wealth management comes in play. So this longevity planning is just an ever increasingly more important piece of overall wealth management.
Mark, specifically, then, what are some of the ways then that you're seeing wealth management being used by the affluent to help ensure their wealth is in fact positioned to go the distance?
Wow, there's a lot of things. I mean, there are a lot of things, but one key aspect that we see, of longevity planning is the concept and the service of concierge medicine. So
Okay.
any discussion of funding a longer life, really has to involve the topic of paying for medical care, right? So that, you and your loved ones can continue to have the kind of lives, that that you really want to have, and,
Hmm.
not just an extension of a lesser life. You want to live a long, healthy, enjoyable life. So the traditional healthcare systems oftentimes are not able to keep up with the demand of people living longer and in such greater quantities. And so there's a great potential for people to fall between the cracks. Have you heard that story, Ryan? People trying to get in for appointments, people trying to find new doctors. My health insurance doesn't cover the doctor I've had for the last 20 years. I mean, so many different things are changing. So, for those people that are concerned, concierge medicine could be a true and viable solution. At its core, concierge medicine is kind of a membership driven model. For a fee, you get to access, boutique medical services and practices with relatively small ratio of patients to physicians. And, that enables shorter waiting times, longer visits, and significantly more personalized care given, and in many cases, by physicians with greater expertise than a typical provider might have. So, that's a good thing. The problem is that high quality concierge medicine can be extremely expensive, and depending on the care needed and the providers. So, therefore, the ability to use wealth management solutions to address those potential costs of a concierge healthcare system and the specialized medical care, all of this could be extremely valuable. Even to those of us with significant wealth, it's important to consider that we want to be healthy while we're living longer, and we still want to be able to enjoy our life. And the traditional medical system may not be able to accommodate us in future years as well as we would like them to.
Sure, sure. So Mark, do you have any examples, concrete ones for us today that could illustrate how wealth management solutions can, in fact, help support the use of concierge medicine to, address those medical issues that are inevitable to pop up down the road?
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's look at some hypothetical situations that were based on some cases on real events, right? So, say there's a wealthy family with $30 million or more in net worth. Most of which could be tied up in real estate, in a family business. Bottom line is it's illiquid. So let's say that a family member requires some expensive, costly, state-of-the-art treatments that are only available in, let's say, a foreign country. So as well as significant post-treatment rehabilitation that maybe he's going to do here in the United States. Being able to financially prepare for such a situation, maybe through genomic testing, maybe through research of bioidentical hormones and things of that sort, it could be very helpful and instrumental in preserving, the family business and ensuring that the family member gets the best medical care possible. How does that work? Well, let's say in that case, advanced use of certain forms of wealth management can potentially address the healthcare costs and needs in very tax efficient manner. So the ability to have concierge care can directly affect the wealth management of a family business, whether that business is involved in real estate or manufacturing or technology, whatever it is. The leaders of that business have to be able to stay healthy for as long as they can. So with medical costs likely to continue to rise and, with age working against us, you need to be able to manage your financial assets in a way that accounts, for a much longer time span and ensures a long and well-lived life. As an investor, it's all about how much money you walk away with, really, right? It's not how much you earn or how much you create. It's how much you get to keep later on. So, great performing investment can become kind of mediocre when you consider the effect of taxes. So therefore, there are ways to mitigate the tax bite from a variety of different investments that could directly affect how this care occurs.
So, no, that's great, Mark. And I know concierge medicine, that is a big part of the conversation within longevity planning that you're having with clients over at Echelon Family Office. But let's maybe move to another wealth management concern. What is another wealth management item that you're seeing and really should be part of anyone's longevity plan?
Well, hand in hand with longevity planning is estate planning. You must take that into account because due to longer lifespans, people and families may need to rethink their existing estate plans, and even their entire mindset about wealth transfer in general. Well, indeed, the potential to live longer, can create an estate planning minefield for wealthy families, as well as their wealth managers and their tax experts. It just creates a whole bunch of different issues to deal with.
Yeah, well, let's talk about those. What kind of issues are you seeing pop up here in estate planning then?
Well, let's see, specifically, we're talking about issues for high net worth families in terms of how and when to transfer assets to subsequent generations. For example, among wealthy families, a critical longevity related question you really need to ask is, when does the next generation get the benefit from and control the assets that they're going to inherit? If a successful business owner, for example, expects to live past 100 thanks to medical advances and things like concierge medicine, then when do the inheritors take control of the family owned business and actually manage the company, right? Is it in their 70s, their 80s, their 90s? I don't know. Potentially disastrous, confrontations could occur, from not thinking through the possibilities and being proactive about these things in advance. You know, when we think about it, controlling wealth until death is a common practice, but this philosophy can lead, to poor estate plans, especially when the people involved live much longer than they expected to when they created the estate plan. There are cases where the wealth holders are living a very long time, okay, and it's their responsibility to construct estate plans that clearly spell out what needs to happen as they become older and maybe not as interested or not as capable of running a family business, a family entity of some type. So we have to take all of these things into consideration, which is why these plans need to be constantly monitored and updated.
Roger that, Mark. I mean, we've talked about a few different areas of longevity planning that are pretty pertinent nowadays. But given all that, I feel like we should give our audience some takeaways, maybe some things that they should be considering for themselves. So what would you say people should be asking themselves then, or just maybe discussing with their advisors if they're wondering if longevity planning is something they should be considering?
Well, Ryan, planning is very specific to each individual. Uh, uh, but I guess there are some things that are consistent across the planning spectrum, right? Maybe things like, are you concerned, or as much as you should be, about rising healthcare costs and these state of the art treatments that we don't even know about yet? Those costs could potentially cost you to run out of money, right? We don't know how much healthcare is going to cost in the future. So, and that's especially true if you're going to live to 100 or longer. Okay, then there are things such as maybe you should be especially concerned about how living to 100 or older could impact your assets, and your ability to pass those assets on to your loved ones. This is where the estate planning piece becomes important again. So, and pass it on according to your wishes and how you see fit, which is smart estate planning. That's why it's so critical. Uh, and how about this one? Are you working with a wealth manager who really is knowledgeable about longevity planning? While it's not new, it is an ever expanding field, and they must stay current. So, is your current advisor really knowledgeable about the longevity planning aspect combined with estate planning as part of your overall wealth management scenario? Can they help you take the steps to afford the health care that you're going to need and want? And well, are they going to be able to create that legacy program on your terms?
Sure, sure. And Marcus, we've talked about this so much on this show. It's that first step. It's getting started. It's always the hardest part for so many people when it comes to these wealth management strategies and solutions we talk about here. But let's say somebody just asked themselves those questions. They recognize the need for, longevity planning, or a need to make a move on any of those three real areas that you just mentioned to us. Once that's done and they've asked themselves those questions, how could they get started really in putting some of those solutions in place?
Well, it kind of depends, right? But look, if you're at all concerned about your current advisor's ability to address the longevity related threats to your financial well-being, then you might want to seek out a second opinion, right? We're big on second opinions and stress tests. I know that we've done a complete series on stress tests in the past. So that second opinion, primarily about your financial situation, before you make decisions about your wealth that might impact your ability to pay for that top tier healthcare in the future. Okay, and to think about either planning or redesigning your estate plan effectively. Bottom line is, a comprehensive review of where you are today and where you want to be and the gaps that may exist between those two things, right? That may indicate it's time to find the expertise, that could truly add, value to your life and the lives of those that you care about. So even if you've already taken action in those areas, let me tell you, maybe it's a good idea to get a second opinion anyway, especially if you feel at all worried or uncertain about your plan. As we're sure you'll agree, addressing any problems with your current longevity planning efforts today is a lot better than addressing them 2 decades from now when it may be far too late to make corrections, right? We always say most of our clients come to us having some or all of the work completed, but rarely do we see it, all of that work be as complete and as comprehensive and as up to date as possible.
Of course. And Mark, if anybody out there in our audience is, interested in a second opinion, in going through that process, maybe with you and your team, what would be the best way they could get in touch with you guys to just open up a conversation and maybe get that process going?
Well, you might want to first visit us on the web. Check out our website, www.echelonoffice, that's ECHELON, the word office.com. Or you can call in, and our number is 888-892-9882. Or if you're so inclined, feel free to email me direct. I'll be more than happy to respond to you myself. And that's MWade, MWADE, at Echelon Wealth, ECHELON, the word wealth.com.
All righty, fantastic. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate you carving some time out of your busy day. You've got some clients to serve, sir. So I will let you get back to doing that. And I'm looking forward to jumping on the next one with you.
Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. It was a great topic we discussed today. I look forward to next month.
You got it, Mark. Well, hey, look, I appreciate you. And also want to say thank you to our audience. We also appreciate you guys for hanging out and being with us on the show today. And as always, if you took anything away from today's conversation, you benefited from it in any way, shape, or form, go ahead and hit that subscribe button then on whichever platform you checked us out on today. That way you never miss a future episode with more great wealth management conversations coming down the pipeline. And then, of course, share this information, right? With any friends, family, business owners, anybody that you think the conversation longevity planning really encapsulates, share that with them so that they can be pointed towards some of those important things like concierge medicine, like estate planning, and maybe like a second opinion service to make sure that their plan is in fact going to get them to the goals and aspirations that they hope for most with their lives. So for Mark, I'm Ryan. We're going to go ahead and say so long today, but we appreciate you stopping by and hanging out with us here on Optimizing Your Financial World.